Good morning, folks. Another live feed on Rashad's YouTube channel. Chapter 88, Surprising Judgment, the Sermon on the Mount book, Teachers of Jesus, the Great Teachers of Jesus. Matthew chapter 7, verse 22 and 23. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and your name drive out demons and perform many miracles? And I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers. Our Lord now moves from the kingdom of heaven, your final judgment. The first implicit in reference to the final judgment was in Matthew chapter 5, verse 12. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way, it was persecuted the prophets who were before you. Second preference references are slightly more explicit, but I tell you that no anyone who is angry with his brother will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to his brother, Raka, is an answer to the Sahedrin. But anyone who says you fool will be in danger of the fire of hell. There's also Jesus' admonition, do not judge. You say you would judge, but it may not necessarily refer to the final judgment. But it's obvious. However, in Matthew chapter 7, verse 22 is an explicit reference to the final judgment. This idea is something never far from Jesus' mind. It's here as John the Baptist said to the Pharisees and Sadducees, you guard vipers, will warn you to flee from the coming wrath. But when Jesus referred to that day, it was enough. Everybody knew what he meant by it. There's a long prehistory in Judaism. You are an idea of God stepping in to judge. Though Almighty has a day in store, all the triumphantly for all that is exalted, and all they will be humble. Well, for the day of the Lord is near. It will come like destruction from the Almighty. Arise from that day. The day of the Lord is near. It will come like destruction from the Almighty. The day of the Lord is great. It is dreadful. We can endure it. The sun will be returned to darkness, and the moon to blood before the coming of the great, dreadful day of the Lord. Final judgment. But God has stepped in big time to judge his people. The Bible teaches that there will be a final judgment. When all people who ever lived from the first day of creation will be present. The saved and lost will be raised from the dead, whether they had burials, cremation, or were at sea. John described, I saw a great white throne, him who was seated on it. Earth and sky fled from his presence, and there was no place for them. I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne. The books were open. The other book was open, just the book of life. The dead was judged according to what they had done, was recorded in the books. Sea gave up the dead that were in it, and death Hades gave up dead that were in it. Each person was judged according to what he had done. Then death and Hades were thrown to the lake of fire. Fire is the second death. If anyone's name was not found written in the book of life, thrown into the lake of fire. Jesus is the judge. Who do you suppose will be the judge? It is none other than the Lord Jesus Christ himself. He will say to me on that day, said Jesus. It says, shows that Jesus knew then, the beginning of his ministry, he will be coming a second time of his death on the cross. There's an inseparable connection between the second coming and the final judgment. This is a man's destined to die once, and after that to face judgment. So Christ was sacrificed once to take away the sins of many people, and he will appear a second time, not to bear sin, but to bring salvation to those who are waiting for him. Jesus also calls himself the Son of Man. At that time, the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the nations on earth will show over. You will see the Son of Man coming on the dark hours of the sky with power and great glory. He also said there is a judge for the one who rejects me and does not accept my words. The very word which I spoke will condemn him at the last day. This coheres with Paul's sermon in Athens. God has set a day when he will judge the world. Judged by the man he has appointed. He has given proof of this to all men, by raising him from the dead. Paul also said in the presence of the Christians, in view of his spirit and his kingdom. Matthew chapter 7, verse 22 therefore shows Jesus himself will be the judge at the final judgment, and too many will be surprised at the judgment. Many those who trusted in their works exploits. When it comes to eschatology, things are not as clear to us as we might like. You would know a lot more about heaven 5 minutes after we have in there than all the guesswork done in advance. So too it is with the details that could come on judgment. There will be a final judgment following the second coming. Jesus himself will be the judge. All the dead throughout the ages are saved and lost, and raised to be judged. Some will rise to live. Those who have done evil will rise to be condemned. The dead in Christ will rise first. Those alive at that moment will be caught up to join the saved dead. All the unsaved will stand trial before the judge. Every single person saved or lost, whoever lived on this planet, from Adam and Eve to Pharaoh to Balaam, Nebuchadnezzar to the Caesars, Hitler and Saddam Hussein, to the last person to be born, will bend the knee, bless Jesus Lord. Not necessarily because they believe in on earth, but to the glory of God the Father. Two classes of people therefore will be judged. Those who are unsaved, those who are saved. Some will be given a reward, others will suffer loss reward. Therefore, when Jesus said, many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? He was referring to the final judgment. What is the purpose of these verses? Why are they put precisely here? First, they further show the seriousness of the words of Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount. As we just saw, future will condemn people at the last day. You and I will face Jesus for every words at the final judgment. Second, they show how surprised the people will be on that day. Though their good works, their gifts, their fame, and all their accomplishments on earth will determine whether they were in or out. There remains an obvious question: does this passage refer only to the lost, those not in but out, with regards to going to heaven or hell? Yes. Whereas Matthew chapter 7 verse 21 refers to believers who may not gain that inheritance in the kingdom of heaven. Matthew chapter 7 verse 22 and 23 refers to heaven itself, while these people will miss it. Most people will plead with Jesus at the judgment. Three things show that Matthew chapter 7 verse 22 and 23 describes the unsaved at the judgment. First, the context. Jesus had just been speaking of false prophets. In Matthew chapter 7 verse 15 and 20, these people were never saved. They were those who somehow got into the church and wielded vast influence. This no doubt included people like the Gnostics, described in Jude 4, 1 John chapter 2 verse 19, 2 Peter chapter 2 verse 1 to 22, possibly in Colossians. It will also include legalistic people like the Judaizers, those Jews who follow Paul everywhere with the view to describe the gospel. They are described in 2 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 1, 2 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 13 and 15, Galatians chapter 1 verse 7, Galatians chapter 2 verse 4, Galatians chapter 4 verse 17, Galatians chapter 6 verse 12. Apart from these two groups have always been enemies of the gospel, both in the Old Testament era as well as in the church throughout the ages, who have devils and gifts appear to be part of the community of believers. They are able, charismatic, oratorical, highly gifted with spiritual powers. Some are endued with at least 3 gifts: prophecy, miracles, ability to drive out demons. People with gifts such as these do at least 2 things. They influence vast numbers of people. Who wouldn't be fascinated by people like this? Sheer curiosity would cause people to drive intentions to see them, watch them on television, even contribute to their ministries. 2, these gifted people took their own abilities as proof, signs they would go to heaven. This is why they used their gifts to plead with the supreme Lord Judge. Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? In your name, drive out demons and perform many miracles. Second, we know these are unsaved people because Jesus will plainly say to them, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers. This is strong language. I never knew you for evildoers. Jesus does not say, I knew you for a while, but you fell away. He says, I never knew you. Language cannot be stronger than that. Third, consider the reason that these lost people thought they were saved. In a word, they trusted their good works, illustrates, exploits their extraordinary gifts and accomplishments. I want to put this question to the head of state. You were to stand before God, and you will. He were to ask you, and he might, why should I let you into my heaven? What would you say? You replied that he felt his accomplishments would let him in. This is what so many important people inside or outside the church truly believe. It ain't their position, reputation, faithfulness, responsible job, strategic decision, or hard work count for righteousness. Sadly shows that they've lied to unaware the gospel. If you wonder why high-profile preachers and faith healers never preach the gospel, but refer to the cross only in terms of health and wealth, it's because the true gospel is not theirs. It's a different gospel, a Jesus other than the Jesus we preached, that they have embraced. The preacher worker of miracles can appear on live television after night and month after month, but never must preach the gospel. Shows he does not know the gospel. Every television preacher who boasts of a ministry of healing will not be false to the carrier of Matthew chapter 7, verse 22 and 23. By the way, what is your hope of going to heaven? What exactly would you say to the Lord Jesus Christ if he would ask you why he should let you into his heaven? I will tell you plainly, if you are trusting in your good works, you will go to hell. You must also say, our holy hope of heaven, sinless life, and shed blood of Jesus Christ. Trust him alone. You have no other hope. Even if you're not a high-profile person, have no gift for healing or miracles, but inwardly you think you will get to heaven by your best efforts, your prayer life, your good works, the money you have given to the church or other ministries, your sacrifice helping people, the Christian example, you reveal that you have no more hope of heaven than those described in Matthew 7, verse 22, 23. We will say that you never knew. The difference between Matthew 7, verse 21, Matthew 7, verse 22 is that because these verses one refer to the kingdom of heaven, other the heaven itself. Or placed side by side, one might assume at first they describe the same about people, but they are not the same. In Matthew 7, verse 21, Jesus is a sense symbolizing his teaching and how he could be a believer and not inside the kingdom. Matthew 7, verse 22 describes those who are in the church but never regenerate. Whereas Matthew chapter 7, verse 21 refers to Christian who by faith confesses that Jesus is Lord. Verse 22 describes those people who cannot enter heaven but will go to hell. Verse 21 describes the true believer may not necessarily gain his or her heritage in the kingdom. Verse 22 refers to those who cannot enter heaven itself. So in verse 21, these people affirm to the deity of Jesus and say faithful. Verse 22 says they call him Lord by being forced to. Verse 21 shows that professional faith alone is not sufficient to bring one to his or her inheritance. Verse 22 shows that these people lose everything. Verse 21 refers to the kingdom of heaven. Since below, verse 22 refers to the final judgment that shows why people go to hell. Everyone who calls Jesus Lord then went to the kingdom of heaven. Some will because they pursued their inheritance. Yet those described verse 22 were never saved. In the end, they confessed Jesus to be Lord because they had to do it. One day every knee shall bow, their tongue shall confess that Jesus is Lord, whether they like it or not. These are the few ones who will try to flee bargain with this such judge. They will fail in their plea and be sent to hell. Verse 21 describes those who may not have produced weakness. Some others are prey for their enemies. Verse 22 shows that those who were never converted in the first place, I never knew you. A short verse 21 refers to the Christian. Verse 22 refers to a loss. Verse 21 shows a Christian who could forfeit his or her inheritance. Verse 22 shows a lost person who loses her own soul forever. Verse 21 shows that us we have a true believer not persisting in faith. Verse 21 shows the counterfeit who got in the church through the back door or will be kept from entering heaven. Question: can a case be made that verse 22, chapter 7, verse 22 from Matthew refers to the Christian who is his or her but will be saved by fire? Is very thin phrase. These words, I never knew you, too strongly suggest he is addressing believers who will be saved by fire. There will be a judgment come among the saved at the judgment seat of Christ. One thing he was saying about heaven here, verse 3 said, expect to have three surprises. At first, there will be those present he thought would not be there. Second, there will be those missing he thought would be there. Third, the great surprise of all of that, he's there himself. None of us deserve to go to heaven. We all deserve to go to heaven. If we go to heaven, it will be solely by the sheer grace of God, through faith, not works. But the Martin Lloyd Jones used to say that a Christian is one surprised that he or she is a Christian. You know for certain that if you were to die today, you would go to heaven. So I'll be in chapter 89 tomorrow, Faith on Trial. I think chapter 7, verse 24 and 25. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine puts them into practice like a wise man built his house on a rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew. So I'll be on docket tomorrow at Faith on Trial, Matthew chapter 7, verse 24 and 25. Therefore, everyone who hears those words of mine puts them into practice like a wise man who built his house on a rock. The rain came down, the stream rose, the winds blew and beat against that house, yet it did not fall, because it had a foundation on a rock. Let's get into when March went mad, the game that transformed basketball, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, Michigan State versus Indiana State, 1879, March 26th is chapter 3. The Indiana State Sycamores returned home from their back-to-back wins in Florida with a 6-0 record December 12th. Cutting that rankings for the first time. They were 20th in the Associated Press poll and 16th in the UPI poll. That caused a few members of the national media to trickle into Terry Holt. It was not a welcome development for the team's resident superstar. Bird had several reasons for erecting his wall of silence. He was actively sensitive to the possibility that his teammates might get jealous, but he was also fearful that some of the embarrassing details of his past would come to light. He came from a coach in French Lit where everybody knew everybody, but everybody didn't know everybody's business. So I got to know him. He opened up about certain things that was nice and what was locked up inside of him. Larry had been intensely shy ever since he was a youngster. According to Jim Jones, his former high school coach, Larry once flunked in English class because he wanted to give a speech. And his older brother Mark was leading Springs Valley High School to a state sectional championship. Larry didn't go to the games. He didn't like crowds. Even his mother, Georgia, used to say that Larry was the only one of her 6 children. She often couldn't tell what he was thinking. Larry only tells you exactly what he wants you to think. No, Larry upbringing was not exactly the best training ground for facing the clean lights of the national media. It would have been difficult to find anyone less prepared to be interviewed than I was when I got to Indiana State Vote and Drive. Birds were only among the poorest families in French State, which was located in the poorest county in the state. Orange County. Throughout Larry's childhood, his father Joe was in and out of jobs as he battled alcoholism. He finally landed a steady work at the Kimball Piano Factory in town, where he worked as a word finisher for 8 years. Georgia Bear often worked 2 jobs at a time, usually as a waitress. The Birds rented 17 houses in 18 years until they finally bought a house, Washington Street. It's like, his upbringing. I'm getting into all that. It's his upbringing. Plus, basketball part, Larry knew full well that his father, like nearly everyone officially, was a huge Indiana University basketball fan. As Larry started putting up huge numbers on the basketball court his senior year, the season at Spring Valley, he averaged 31 points, 21 rebounds in 1973-74. He began hearing from everyone in town that he should attend college in Bloomington. Not surprised he was uncomfortable receiving all the attention. When Bird saw his name in a local newspaper, he complained to his new coach, Harry Holland, why can't we get Peter's name in the newspaper too? His reclusiveness also made him a tough target for recruiters. One day, the current head coach at the University of Louisville came designed to challenge Bird to a game of horse. If Clemson won, Bird would have to visit Louisville about 60 miles away. Bird said okay, then he beat Clemson about 8 shots. Didn't Larry did make the trip. The school he most wanted to attend was Kentucky. Bird went with Holland and his parents on an official visit to Liston. But Wildcats coach Joe B. Hall, who had been to Springs Valley to see Larry Perry, didn't offer him a scholarship. People give Joe B. Hall a link about that. I'm close friends with one of Joe's sisters. He said, when you talk with Larry Bird, he wouldn't talk to you. He wouldn't look at you. Ain't no way a Kentucky player can get by like that. They eat him alive. Bird's eye-popping high school numbers eventually caught the attention of Indiana coach Bob Knight, who dispatched his assistant Jay Bliss to French Lick to see how good the kid really was. He was wonderful to watch because he could pass the ball better than anybody on the floor, shoot the ball better than anybody on the floor, and he would try to harder than anybody on the floor. Bliss said this, and developing a relationship with Bird, on the other hand, wasn't easy. So on one occasion when Bird shared his preferred hobby of mushroom honey. Also, Bliss's contact was with Jones and Howard. It was to the spring of 1974, yet when another player Knight was officially Knight was recruiting open opted for the University of Cincinnati that Indiana officially offered Bird a scholarship. Since that Bird still needed some fighting, Knight took the unusual step of asking 3 of his own players throughout the French League to meet Bird for lunch. John Lakowski, Kent Vincent, and Steve Green made the trip, ate with Bird and Jones at a local pizza hut. Well, Jim Jones seems like a really nice guy. But that Bird didn't say a word. Bird decided in April to sign with Indiana. That one was a matter of great civic pride for his community. But those so close to Bird since his heart was in it. I know he respected Bob Knight, but I really think he went because other people pressed him to do all. He's the type of guy who doesn't like to let people down. Bloomington is only 56 miles from French Lick, but for Bird, it might as well have been a world away. He arrived during the summer 1940, found himself room with Jim Bosman, a 6'3" guard from Quincy, Illinois. Came to the scrimmage with the old players. Larry thought he was treated badly by some of the team's veterans, especially Benson, who went out of his way to haze Bird and give him the full freshman treatment. Philosophy in the old days was until you prove you're ready to be on the team, then you're just a freshman. A lot of times he was fairly unhappy with his performance. Larry was much more relaxed when he could just go off and shoot. That's where he was really at home. Star classes only intensified Bird's feelings of isolation. He was a poor, sheltered, intensely introverted teenager who had rarely set foot outside his hometown, fewer than 3,000 people who stuck without any friends on a campus of more than 30,000 undergraduates. He couldn't get over the fact that he had to walk several miles just to get to class. He often said, I ain't no genius in school. Around. I know that Northwood Institute, a junior college in French Lick, neighboring town of West Bay. It didn't take him long for him to realize the competition for that was weak. But after 2 weeks, he was very unsettled. He had trouble attending class and very undisciplined. As I slowly burgeoned, his experience on the golf track drove considerable interest as well as a smattering of youth division. Going to what he said in 1988, I love that job. So outdoors, you were around with your friends picking up rush, heating up. I felt like I was really cutting up. Because people expect people will work no matter what the job. Stick around. Despite the embarrassment of having jumped out of Indiana before in early winter of 1984, St. Father's a happy time in Larry's life. That blissful lives was shattered in February 1985 when Larry's father committed suicide. Joe Burrow had become increasingly depressed, strapped for money. When a police officer showed up at his house for South Fort, Joe asked him to come back after that afternoon. He shot himself in the head with a shotgun. Suicide was big news in French Lick. Larry spoke of it. Even one of his close friends, Larry, loved his dad a great deal, so he didn't like talking about it. Didn't bring it up either. That's just something that he dealt with himself. Believe me, he took it hard. Just 2 months after Joe Burrow took his life, Bill Hodges reported for the first day of work as an assistant coach at Indiana State. He met that morning with Bob Hill. Let's just discuss recruiting. As King went over Indiana State's current roster and the list of potential prospects, was asked him, "Are you recruiting like Bird?" He had heard of Bird and knew he had dropped out of Indiana State University in previous September. But unlike Hodges, he had never seen Bird play. Now this, is he good? Well, yeah, he's good, Hodges said. But he could start for us right now. Probably average about 18 a game. Yeah, go see him then, King said. From Monday, Hodges and Stan Evans drove 2 hours south of French Lick. They didn't even know if Bird would be in town, so they planned to drive to Spring Valley's high school and asked Larry's old coach Larry Hunt to help them find him. Hodges intentionally didn't tell Holland they were coming. When you need someone's help recruiting, you don't give them a chance to say no. So it came to, he found Holland in his office at the high school gymnasium and a coach said he'd be glad to take them out to a small single-level house on Washington Street. Hodges stood on the front porch and knocked on the door. Before the Bird answered, Hodges started to tell her who they were while they were here. But Jordan cut him off. "Why do you all coaches keep bothering him? He doesn't want to go to college. He's not interested. But we think Indiana State might be a good place for him. He's not interested." She shut the door in his face. I just looked over at Helen, who came only shrugged. Washington, usually like that. He said, Hans just stayed looking for Bird in his grandmother's house. When they got there, nobody was home. A little bit. They would know anyway I do it. Let's see if he's going what college he's gonna go to. Stuff like that. Yeah, I just agree with this assessment. It's likely that Larry Bird would never have played college basketball, much less in the NBA. That college kept up his pursuit, even though his experiences recruiting of small Indiana rural communities had taught him the odds could bring a lot. No other studies, kids just stay down there and work on the vine. I'm not talking about Richland. I'm talking about so doctor failures never make it out of that town. Another conclusion was that Bird couldn't come to Indiana State without an official release from the Indiana University. So he might not have been all that juiced about school. During press at the in-state players stayed in Terre Haute no summer. But the idea of going up against quality of competition every single day, something he couldn't do in French Lick, it was also critical for him to know that, like Woodson, he wouldn't be a stranger in a strange land. Though Collins wasn't just joining him, was joining him. Though Collins wasn't joining him, his good friend Tony Clark was already there. Others was recruiting another childhood chum, a former Springs Valley teammate Danny King from Cumberland Junior College in Tennessee. And the visit, Larry took Hodges he needed to go back to for a couple of days. He told Hodges that Larry Bird and to get his things together, but he had decided to come to Indiana State. Having given a second chance at life outside of French Lick, he wanted to take it if he couldn't make it work to run home again, maybe this time for good. And so I'll be in chapter 4 tomorrow. Hope you like subscribe to the channel. Hope you like the content today. Something in my book, chapter 88. Chapter 88 talks about the surprise judgment. Chapter 88. I read chapter 89 on Friday. Reading about faith on trial. It's been chapter 3 of March Went Mad. Game that changed, transformed basketball. Be chapter 4 tomorrow. So till then, subscribe. Talk to you tomorrow.